listeners, for Wednesday's edition of Seahawk Talk, we'll have special guests Rob McGinnis, Jennifer Foster, Jane Walsh, and Craig O'Rourke II. That's 3 to 4 p.m. See you then. Hello and welcome to Seahawk Talk on Wednesday, May 27. I'm Ed Habishaw. I've got 4 coaches lined up for us today. They're from our fall sports, men's and women's cross country, Rob McGinnis, Jen Foster with field hockey, Jane Walsh with women's soccer, and Craig O'Rourke II with men's soccer. I apologize for yesterday, segment 2. I didn't realize it until today. I was able to edit the file, and that segment went off with my discussion with Patrick Cooney completely muted. So I've got to get in the habit of muting the guest initially, and then when I don't hear the guest, then I know nobody hears the guest. But when I hear the guest, I don't realize that if I'm muted on this side, nobody hears us. So that'll be corrected hopefully today, because I've already got our first guest in queue. He is Rob McGinnis, men's and women's cross country. Again, followed by Jen Foster, field hockey, Jane Walsh, women's soccer, and Craig O'Rourke II, men's soccer. Clear that and get our lower third ready for our first guest. And I have a quick intro clip for him because it is race time.
Who are we?
Seahawks!
Who are we?
Seahawks!
What time is it?
Race time!
What time is it?
Race time!
Salve on 3, salve on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Salve!
Alright boys, start it back.
Yes! How'd that work?
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Rob. How are you? It's race time.
It is race time. It's almost race time. Geez, I sure hope so. I'm doing well. How about you this week? Everything good?
So far, so good. It's a short week. How's that?
It is. Yeah.
Did you have the 3-day weekend?
I had a 4-day weekend, actually. I had a furlough day on Friday from my office job and then the holiday on Monday.
Good for you. Hope you and Jen were able to enjoy it. And I see you did get a haircut.
I did. That's a credit to Jen's good work there. She's just multi-talented, isn't she?
Absolutely. She takes good shots and she takes good cuts.
Apparently, yeah. We had to repurpose my my beard trimmer with the various guides, but it seems to be working well. So, that's filling a need while other services are unavailable here in Connecticut.
So where are we going today with cross country? Because your sport doesn't have a conference schedule, and I know the CCC athletic directors are meeting next week to go over the different options, and one of the options is conference schedule only for the various sports, but cross country itself just has an end of season championship meet for conference participants. And what do you think for your so-called regular season schedule?
Well, and this is pure speculation on my part, so we'll just entertain the topic, right? I think a lot of it remains to be seen as to how the various states in which we compete start to allow larger gatherings, right? When you think about a larger invitational, and we go to some meets that might involve 25 teams, 30 teams, all the way up to 40 teams, in a meet that large, you're looking at 800 to 1,000 competitors in one place. And granted, the team camps all scatter out, but ultimately when it's race time, you're going to have hundreds of people gathered along an arc along the start, and then groups out on the course throughout the course of the race. And I just don't know what that holds in terms of the larger meets. And for those that don't follow cross country as closely, most of our regular season competition is done at invitational meets. So some of those can be smaller. We might go to races like the one up at CCRI, the Tri-State Invitational. Yeah. That one tends to draw 8 to 10 full-size teams. So maybe there's 100 competitors on the line, maybe 120. In the past, though, we've also gone to meets like the one at Westfield State, the James Early Invitational. That typically draws 25 to 30 teams. We've been to UMass Dartmouth many times in the past. That one typically draws more than 40 teams. And those are those larger meets that I was talking about. I drafted a schedule earlier this spring that assumed normal, right? Because that's how we had to operate. And I turned that over to Sean Foster, who's our scheduling coordinator. And here's the preview of what the schedule looked like before we, continued in the situation that we're in. We had planned to open the season with a tri-meet, so 3 teams, up at either Gordon College or Endicott College. We did that last year with them as well. And that actually worked out pretty well. So Coach Weichert up at Gordon affirmed that we were welcome to do that again this year. So that was the plan. We were going to do that during our preseason week, so opening with a tri-meet.
And that helps you see some CCC competition right off the bat.
Exactly. And we liked the way that they put on them. It was a very informal meet. It was good competition, and it wasn't stressful in that, aside from the fact that we had to run a race, there wasn't a lot of logistical challenges to deal with otherwise. So we're keeping the tri-meet, assuming that preseason is at the time that it normally would be, and so on. From there, we had planned to go back up to Gordon for the Pop Crowell Invitational. But again, now we're in invitationals, right? Yeah. We had intended to compete at CCRI in the Tri-State Invitational, which we've been to many times in the past. I like that meet a lot. It's an easy travel day for us. But again, another invitational meet. We plan to go to Westfield State for the James Early Invitational, which is a larger meet. I'm assuming that meet holds its regular date on the calendar during Columbus Day weekend, and that's when that meet would fall again this year. And then we plan to follow that up with a different meet on our schedule. Suffolk University hosts a meet at Franklin Park in Boston, also an invitational. I like the course at Franklin Park. We don't get to race there very often. And with Suffolk eventually becoming a member of the CCC, we thought, well, why not? They invited us, and that's a good opportunity. But again, an invitational. And then from there, we would take a week off, and all this is spaced out over the course of the season. We don't race every week anyway. And then we're into the championship season, which is typically the CCC championship. We take a team to the USA Track and Field New England Regional Championship on the women's side. And then the NCAA...
Where is that held, Rob?
The New England USA Track and Field?
Yeah.
Usually Franklin Park in Boston.
Okay, so it's the same location each year?
Mm-hmm. Typically, I think it has moved around in the past, but as far as I've known it, it's been at Franklin Park. And then the NCAA New England Regional Championship rounds out the season in November, and that'll be at Harkness Park in Waterford, Connecticut next year. As far as I know, the state of Connecticut is still on board with the regional meet happening here, which is good. And then to your earlier point, if we talk about conference competition, typically for cross country, that's just the CCC championship. One option that we could entertain would be to do more meets like the ones that we're going to do to open the season, which would be 2 or 3 teams in a place. Many of the schools in the conference do have a home course, and we could do much like we used to do back in the 80s in Division III with dual meets and tri-meets. Yeah. And that would be a good way to get some conference competition and preserve a little bit of the schedule. And I've asked our sport chairman to at least ask the question when he's in conversation with the ADs next week. I don't know how that'll turn out, but I'd rather see us preserve something of a regular season as opposed to building up just toward a championship meet at the end.
Rob, could that possibly lead to an opportunity for Salve Regina to host a small tri-meet or even a dual meet?
I think that's a possibility. We would have to look at our options for courses around Newport. We could always revisit our former home course if St. George's was amenable to it. I've not had any conversations with them, so I don't know. But if they were open to hosting or letting us host there, that's one option. There were plans years ago to host something at Fort Adams. We'd have to make sure that we could lay out a course that would be compliant with NCAA rules, at least to the extent that we can. I think that's what scuttled it to begin with, was that there were some logistical challenges, and then there's just not enough grass at Fort Adams to lay out a proper 8K. But there have been races there in the past. If we had to go off island, I'm trying to think, there's other places where the high school teams in the area host meets, and we'd have to investigate those parks and properties a little further, but I wouldn't rule it out. And if the conference decided that the meets should be dual tries and hosted by the various institutions, we'd have to figure out what our options look like. But I wouldn't rule it out at this point.
Well, sounds good. And speaking of sounds, let's finish our final Seahawk Talk segment with Alexa, play song quiz.
All right.
Welcome back to Song Quiz. How many people want to play Song Quiz?
2, please.
By the way, we've just released premium rock, rap, and country playlists. Do you want to try them with a 7-day free trial?
No thanks.
Okay, choose a pop music decade.
Oh, 70s. We got to do 70s.
Starting your 70s game. Player 1, question 1,
It's you.
for 10 points. Name the song title and artist.
Oh, feels like the first time, Foreigner.
Right on. You got the title and artist for 10 points plus an extra 10 bonus points.
Well
Your
done.
score is 20. Player 2, question 1, for 10 points. Name the song title and artist.
Rocky Mountain High, John Denver.
Jiminy
you.
Cricket. You
Really?
got the title and artist for 10
Oh, I
points.
thought she
plus
was
an
saying it was
extra
Jiminy
10 bonus
Cricket.
points.
That's saying it.
Your score is 20. Player 1, question 2, for 10 points. Name the song title and artist.
Repeat. Boogie Fever, and I have no idea.
You got the title for 10 points. The song was Boogie Fever by the Silvers. Your
Wow,
score is
the
30.
Silvers. I wouldn't have
Player
guessed
2,
that.
question 2,
No.
for 10 points. Name the song title and artist.
Tonight's the night, Rod Stewart.
Very nice.
Swish.
Yeah.
You got the title and artist for 10 points plus an extra
Very
10
distinguishable
bonus points.
voice.
Your score
Yes.
is 40. Player 1, question 3, for 10 points.
He Don't Love You Like I Love You, Tony Orlando. Yeah.
Baby. You got the title and artist for 10 points
You
plus
got
an
it.
extra 10 bonus
Yeah.
points. Your score is 50. Player 2,
Nice job.
question 3, for 10 points.
Shake your body down to the ground. Michael Jackson.
Ka-chow! You got the title and artist for 10 points plus an extra 10 bonus points.
I don't know how I
Your
got that.
score is 60. Player 1, question 4, for 20 points.
Shake Your Booty, Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Bangin'. You got the title and artist for 20 points plus an extra 10 bonus points.
On a roll.
Your score is 80. Player 2, question 4, for 20
All right,
points.
this will be our last one. fire the Ohio players.
Bam! You got the title and artist for 20 points plus an extra 10 bonus points. Your score
Nicely
is-
done.
We will finish on fire. And then I will keep her muted. All right.
All right.
So thank you. A great game as always, as we can always expect from Rob McGinnis with Song Quiz. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed the 9 weeks with you. You do, however, have the longest running streak. You've made 9 consecutive weeks
Wow.
in this spot, in this segment. So congratulations and thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate the opportunity. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, and get back to work.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
All right. Take care, Rob.
Thanks, Ed. Bye.
We'll see you. That's Rob McGinnis, music aficionado and head men's and women's cross country coach for South Virginia. I'm Ed Habishaw. We'll be back with Jen Foster after a short break. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. We are having some FaceTime issues. I hope to clear them up. My name's Ed Habishaw. We just showed a clip of field hockey in opening day action at Gaudet Field against Eastern Connecticut State University. And now we're ready to show our head coach for South Virginia field hockey, Jen Foster. And I think I've got everything unmuted. So, hey Jen.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. We are in week 9 of Seahawk Talk, and we've seen you and your children get 9 weeks older. How's that?
Been busy, that's for sure. It's crazy how long it's been. That's, it just seems like yesterday we were just picking them up at their last day of school before all this happened. So
Yeah.
anxious for the summer to come, that's for sure.
Well, graduation happened for South Virginia students on May 17. How's it going for your children in school time?
Garrett has his preschool graduation next Friday. They're actually doing a social distant preschool graduation, like at a tailgate out of your car, so that should be
Excellent.
fun. And then Addison's just ending first grade, so no special graduation, but she'll just move on to second.
Well, congratulations, Addison. That's nice advancement into second grade.
Yes.
So how's it going field hockey-wise for you?
Obviously a lot of unknowns right now. I think it sounds like the CCC is meeting next week, so hopefully we'll get some more answers in the next few weeks. But I'm just kind of thinking of all different scenarios and how we would handle, a shortened preseason if it came to that, or conference only for games. I know we'll be able to adapt to anything that's put out in front of us. I think that's the biggest thing, is just knowing ahead of time and being able to prepare our athletes and the coaching staff to be all on the same page. But I know our girls are already at home doing their summer packet and, focusing on what they can. I know some of them have more access to fields than others, but just being really resourceful right now and creative with how you do your workouts, I think is really important.
How much of a field do you need for some of the workouts that you have for them?
A lot of it's full field for the conditioning, skill work we really could do in a smaller area. I know some of them have purchased small pieces of turf for their yards, in their driveways and things like that, which I highly encourage if they can do it.
Yeah.
Their parents can do with it. Some still have access to their full turf at home. I know we have several girls here in Newport, so we're trying to be resourceful for them because the turf isn't open yet and the gym on campus isn't either. But, I feel confident that we have enough time here to prepare. We just got to be patient and see how things kind of unfold, especially in the month of June.
Have you had coaches meetings within conference setups so that you get an idea of what other schools are doing as well, or getting their thoughts?
At this time, no. I've spoken to a couple coaches here and there, but I think everyone's kind of waiting to feel out where the CCC kind of stands on everything, and then how each university and school needs to handle, getting everyone back to campus safely. Obviously, that's going to be the top priority, and making sure it stays that way as we continue through the season.
I know I've seen on social media something that you describe as far as that turf out in a driveway or in a backyard setting, so players are getting access to that equipment.
Big thing is getting the stick in their hand. It doesn't take that much space to do that. Obviously, it'd be great to be in leagues and playing right now, but that's not the situation. So everyone's in the same boat with that, and we just got to be really creative with what individual skills you can get better. I think this is a great time for our athletes to work on their fundamentals, their basics. That stuff will then translate when we get on the field, hopefully, with everyone, and be able to really get into the game strategy piece of it. So I know I've been in touch with a lot of our different players, just trying to feel out for what they have and don't have and what they need help brainstorming with. So it's just one step at a time, I guess.
The penalty stroke, I think, can be an important part of the strategy in field hockey. And I remember a couple of years ago when you had a scrimmage with Eastern Connecticut State, you finished that scrimmage with both teams getting the opportunity to do penalty strokes against the various goaltenders that you had for the day. And I remember Emma Gaudio being able to basically carry the ball on her stick. Talk about that in how some players can have that skill set and use it as a weapon.
Yes, the shootout is what we work on. Shootout strokes, those are some of the specialty skills we put in our summer packet. Obviously, that's something every player can work on and be prepared for. Usually as we go through the season, we'll have our top 5 to 7. Sorry, I got Tegan in here now. But, top 5 to 7 players that we would feel confident doing with it. But, it's something I encourage all the girls to work on. And you never know, like Emma was a defender and she had a great shootout. You would think, forwards, midfielders might be more of your go-to players, but it really can be anyone that, has the talent to do it.
Your sport, I believe this past year, went from 35-minute halves to 15-minute quarters. How was that adjustment?
At first, it was really shocking how quick a quarter went by. I know the first game we had like that, the girls were all kind of in shock by a quarter's already done. The substitutions are a lot different. I really feel like our players are conditioned enough to be able to play 60 minutes. So going as deep into the bench is a little trickier. But I liked it because it gave us some pauses in between, after 15 minutes to regroup and talk things out. But, in general, I think the players will adapt to whatever times we have. I think the one biggest thing as a coach that I struggled with was we don't have a timeout anymore. So not to have a timeout that you can call if something is going awry, it is tough. I think we've really talked to the girls a lot about on the field, being able to huddle up after a goal, an injury timeout, things like that, to use those breaks in the game wisely. Really puts a lot of ownership on the players on the field, the leaders, and our goalies to speak up. That was kind of an interesting transition. I know they're going down to high school with that this year, so I think that will allow that transition, especially for incoming freshmen, to be pretty easy to do as they move on to college.
With your substitutions coach, are you able to, have that player on the sideline with you and say, okay, when you go in, please relay these instructions to everybody, so it sort of acts like a timeout for you?
Yeah, no, you try to use players to, run this in, tell them what we need to do. If a player plays at the other end, I might try to call a player over a little bit. So, yeah, you got to be creative with it. But I feel like once we're in a game situation, you got to let the girls play. That's where the practice is for the coach to really, do the teaching and the coaching. And then game day, I want them to compete. I don't want them to be looking over the sideline, trying to look for every little detail from me or my assistant or anything. That's where we prepare a practice and be ready to go on game day. I'm not the type of coach to be screaming out every little detail. I don't think as a player that's really beneficial. So
I was going to ask, how much on the sidelines do you rely on either hand signals or your voice to carry across? And I think you just answered it.
Yeah, I know. We just, we have corner plays based on numbers, so the girls know what the different numbers, and we change those throughout the season, so to keep our opponent on their toes. But otherwise, it's maybe some direct things, but otherwise, I'm letting the players play. That's what they're trained to do, and I want them to feel confident in their play and not have to keep looking to the coach for every little move that they need to make.
Well, you coached. Hey, who's that? Tegan.
She's gonna be
Good
shy.
to see you, Tegan.
She's lurking.
Welcome to Seahawk Talk. So either Tegan or Jen can answer this question. When did you first fall in love with field hockey, and what is it about the sport that has you so passionate about it?
I started playing my freshman year in high school. My town didn't have any sort of feeding program. I was actually doing cheerleading before that. So, I don't know. I just love the sport. It's very free-flowing. The game has definitely evolved a lot since I played in high school. We were on grass, and, free hits were taken stationary, and it was a lot of hit and run. I think the game has a lot of finesse and a lot of skill. I know people always ask me, why can't you use the other side of the stick? Why can't you do this or that?
Yeah, that was the first thing I was
Yes,
asking.
I know everyone, especially hockey players, but I think it's a fun game because it's fast-paced, especially with the rules they have in place now with, being able to take a quick free hit and go with it, self-starts. So, it's just been a sport that I've fallen in love with, had great college experience, so wanted to continue all that on with the coaching piece of it.
Yeah, your college experience started as the CCC Rookie of the Year
Yes, yep.
at
started
Nichols
at
College.
Nichols.
So it's funny how I thought about this geographically. You went from southeastern Massachusetts to northwestern Rhode Island in your colleges as you transitioned from Nichols College to Bryant University.
Yes, yep. Not too far away. And obviously came back to Rhode Island shortly after graduating for this job. So, it was a great college experience going to Bryant, playing in 2 Final Fours, and it was an amazing experience, and would love to have our players, experience that NCAA environment because it's very unique. Great to play in a conference championship, even the next level at the NCAAs is really amazing.
Well, we hope that can happen as soon as this fall for you.
Yes, yes.
Really appreciate you joining us with Seahawk Talk throughout the 9-week series, and including sharing some of your players onto the program, and having former players, Abby Tepper and Cara Dunn, join us as well. So that was great contributions to Seahawk Talk, and I love having the kids on the show as well.
Girl, say hi.
Hi, Addison. Hi, Tegan.
It's been a great experience having to be able to send it out to recruits, even our current players, to be able to, stay connected this way. So it's been a great project that you put together over this time.
Oh, yeah, and Erin Goudreau, I discovered through a process that I worked with Craig O'Rourke on doing our rosters from 2013 forward, her first name is actually E-R-I-N-G.
Oh, really?
I did not know that. That's how it is in the master database.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know if I had it wrong or if some other system had it wrong, but that's how it is in the colleague database. So Erin Gendro, E-R-I-N-G. Don't know. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Good seeing you, and look forward to future episodes of Seahawk Talk down the line where the children of our head coaches are going to be hosting the show.
Oh, jeez.
I'm kidding. But you've had experience, so we can help develop that experience and get you onto this side where you'll be the host asking mom or dad questions. How does that sound, Addison and Tegan? Are they up for it?
Yeah, we cut out a little bit there with you, so I missed that last part.
Okay, well,
I'm sure they would like to be part of it.
yeah, they'll be our recruits for Seahawk Talk.
Great, sounds good. Good plan, little summer project.
All right, great talking with the Fosters,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
we'll
thank
see you in our staff meetings.
Great, sounds good.
All right,
Have a
take
good day.
care.
Thanks, Ed.
That's done. I'm Ed Habashaw, and we will be back with women's soccer after a short break. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm Ed Habashaw. We just finished our opening segment on Wednesday, May 27, with Rob McGinnis, men's and women's cross country, followed by Jen Foster and two of her three children, Addison and Tegan. And that was for field hockey. And now we are ready for women's soccer with our head coach from Portsmouth, Rhode Island today. It is Jane Walsh. Coach Walsh, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Ed?
Very good, thanks. I know today I'm having some issues with FaceTime, so bear with me. And if it gets too much, what I may do is drop the call and let's pick it up in WebEx, and I'll send you a quick invite in WebEx for a better connection. But if this works out okay, we'll stick with it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, so what have you been up to since last week?
Nothing really. Just trying to enjoy the beautiful weather. It's finally kind of starting to feel like summer. I feel like we totally missed out on a spring. So, which is fine with me. You know, I'm glad that the weather's getting warmer. So I actually rented a boat last week and was out on the water.
Ooh, how far did you go?
Not very far. We went out from Goddard Park in Warwick and then just went across the bay and hung out in a cove kind of by Prudence Island.
What was the rental like? Did you get it from a place in Warwick at Goddard Park?
No, so there's a place or an app called boatsetter.com, and essentially it's like the Airbnb of boat rentals. So you literally just contact, it can be a boating company or just an individual person, and they let you rent out their boat. So it was pretty cool. We just connected with this one guy, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, I've seen that. So you have all the enjoyment of having a boat without all the cleanup and all the expense of maintaining the boat.
Right, exactly.
And where did you go again? From Goddard Park to where?
Goddard Park, just right across the bay to one of the coves around Prudence Island.
Nice. And what day was that? Because I was over at Cold State Park on Sunday afternoon and saw some few boaters out there.
It was Sunday.
All right. So
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
probably saw you.
Yeah, it was a good day for it.
Yeah, I think I might have even seen a sailboat or two. There was a good breeze out there.
Yeah. I think the sailboats really had a good day.
So soccer-wise, you're putting out some social media posts, and I know grades just came out, and you've got some good news there. Talk about that.
Oh, yes. So our grades, we did well this semester, much better than we did in the fall, which is pretty typical whenever we're in season, just because, there's always a time crunch and there's always something to do. Our grades tend to be just a little bit lower than normal, but they always kick it back up in the spring, so we're really proud of them. We got an overall 3.4 GPA for this semester, which was decent. It's pretty good. So we were satisfied with that. It's definitely something we want to work on improving for the future.
Outstanding. I think we talked last week, and we had the conversation about captains. Is that process getting anywhere closer to where you want to see something looking ahead to this upcoming fall?
Yeah, so I have decided that it would be best for us to vote on captains when we meet up again in the fall. I know that it's going to be a different kind of situation. We're not quite sure exactly what the fall is going to look like yet, but I think it's best to wait because we really missed out on our spring non-traditional season, and that's the time where the future leaders of the program, future captains, really kind of start to step up a little bit more and really stand out. And just because we weren't together, for this entire spring, there's so many opportunities that we missed out on for team bonding, and so opportunities for those potential captains to really just kind of take that role over. And I think that's something that kind of happens. People that are going to lead and be the captains just kind of step into those rules in case those.
Can you hear me? Because I cannot hear you. Coach, you still there?
Oh no, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry about that.
The image froze on my screen as well, and then I ended up putting a clip up on so that we didn't see the frozen image of Coach Walsh on the screen with some audio, and then
yes, please.
Then the audio just trailed.
Bear me again.
No. Your captains, typically you say they come out of the spring, that spring ball. And a lot of times you also have some newcomers arrive for your spring season. That obviously didn't happen this year as well because of the shutdown and the departure from school campus. Had you had anybody on paper that was coming to try out in the spring ball season?
Yes, there was one in particular. Her name is Ashley. She had tried out with us in the spring and just had, she just had a few things she was going through at the time. So I was going to give her that opportunity for this spring to come try out. So I'm really bummed out for her that that didn't actually come about. It's really a great opportunity for anybody who wants to walk on to really showcase what they have before investing an entire summer and, coming in early, during preseason and just investing all that time so I can give them a clear answer, by the end of the spring. And we've had a few actually that have ended up joining the program after kind of jumping in for the spring. So I can think of Sam Redman a few years ago. She went through that process. Currently on this team, we have Kayla Markovitz and Aaron Harnish. They went through that process, as well as Isabel Valerio.
And Anna Downs too. Was she an arrival last year?
So Anna was a transfer.
Yeah.
She was a transfer student. So last fall was her first semester at Salve.
Mm-hmm. She didn't have the spring prior to that with us.
No, unfortunately, but she was playing at her former school, and I think got in the work then, so she was doing pretty well.
Nice. Coaching staff wise, are you returning both Hannah and Sue?
So that's kind of up in the air for now. Just with everything that's going on at the moment, I really want to, make sure that everybody, decides this is a good fit for them going into next year, just because everything's changing, right? We talk all the time about our new normal and what that looks like. And so, I've been having some conversations and just trying to figure out what the best choice is.
All right. So you've had a 9-week series of Seahawk Talk. You've shared it segments with your players, your current players, in 3 successive weeks. Talk about the experience of having this vehicle to share with your prospects and your current players.
Yeah, I think this was really cool. I've said this before, but my whole goal for the spring, after spring break, once we were, forced to go home, was really to just try to stay connected. And so that's why everything's really been ramped up. Our social media, we had our team talks and our individual meetings and whatnot. And so I really thought that Seahawk Talk was a good way for us to stay connected as well. It's fun to just also, kind of see and hear what the other teams are doing and how the other coaches are doing, because we don't see them, either. So really our whole sense of community at Salve was stifled. I won't say it was taken away. I'll say it was stifled, because I do think that we have really shown a strong presence since we've all had to kind of be separate. So again, I just think Seahawk Talk was a really great platform for that.
Yeah, it's been altered, but it allowed us to play Song Quiz, and you were a terrific guest in that regard. I played it earlier today with Rob McGinnis, and once again, he was outstanding. We went with the 70s. I remember your segment, we went with the 90s, I believe.
Yeah, and I did not do as well as I thought I would have.
You did better than me, and we were just... the 90s is not my decade, obviously.
Right.
But...
yeah,
I really did appreciate that you taking that risk and putting yourself out there and going for it.
Sure, why not?
Well, good seeing you today, Jane, and wish you the best for the rest of the summer. And I hope we are back on campus in the fall very soon.
Me too. Keep your fingers crossed.
All right, take care.
Bye, Ed.
That's Jane Walsh, head coach for Salve Virginia University women's soccer. I'm Ed Habishaw. We'll be back with Craig O'Rourke II, men's soccer head coach at Salve Virginia, after a short break. Stay with us. Howdy, folks. Currently trying to get a connection with Craig O'Rourke II, our men's soccer head coach, and I will keep on doing that. In the meantime, let me play some clips from men's soccer. There's one. Here's another, a little bit longer, with Ryan Costa on the play-by-play.
Cucho approaches. Cucho shooting, and he finds the back of the net. And quick restart for the Seahawks. Here's McDonald to Ogiano, and he scores! Chavez in the near corner, gets around two Seahawks, looking to center, and he finds Pareda! As John Reichert collects it. Reichert shooting, deflection by Scott. Here it is! Alessandro Ogiano in the back door after the deflection by Sock. Dell laying it off for McDonald, looking for Ogiano! Alessandro Ogiano! And for the fourth time in program history, the Salve Regina Seahawks are Commonwealth Coast Conference champions.
Outstanding there on November 9, 2019 at Topa Field, Ryan Costa, former men's soccer goalkeeper, with the call in the booth at Topa Field for his former teammates winning a conference championship against Endicott College. Later that week, on Veterans Day, November 11, Monday, November 11, Seahawks were in the Rogers Recreation Center awaiting their destination in the NCAA Division III Men's Soccer National Championships.
They're hosting. Virginia. Jody's alma mater.
Still waiting. I'll check back with you.
There we go.
28:15 to go in the first half. McDonald goes short. It's Kelly on the drive off the post. Back in, and he scores.
Sorry, no luck on the connection, but did show you two corner kicks from Evan McDonald, the latter resulting in a Seahawk goal against the University of New England back in October. My name's Ed Habishaw. Thank you for joining us today on Seahawk Talk, Wednesday, May 27. We'll be back with more fall sports on Thursday, May 28. Join us then. See ya.